Today, I'm here to show you how inexpensive it can be to eat vegan, plant-based foods. Earlier, I went to the dollar store and spent $5 or less on each meal that I'm gonna feed my family of 8. Yes, it can be done, and I'm here to show you how. Let's start by making refried bean taquitos. This meal is ridiculously simple and delicious. For this recipe, you will need to buy a bag of dried pinto beans, some verde salsa, and some corn tortillas if you can find them at your dollar store. Now, when it comes to the recipes with this meal, I'm not including the cost of spices with everything because you most likely have these spices on hand already. You'll start by cooking your beans. I just added my bag of pinto beans with enough water to cover it, plus some more, and then I added a tablespoon of salt. Yes, I know a tablespoon is a lot, but we're going to rinse out most of that salt, so you will not be consuming it. It just gives a lot more flavor to the beans. I also added some dried kombu because I had it on hand already. That's going to help minimize the gas and bloating with the beans. If you do not have dried kombu, that's okay. You can just soak your beans overnight to reduce the gas and bloating the next day. Beans are done. Now the spices are ridiculously simple. You'll just add a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of coriander, a teaspoon of cumin, and then I'm adding about a teaspoon of minced garlic. If you don't have minced garlic on hand, you can also just use dried garlic too. About the same, just a teaspoon, just kind of eyeball it. Now because I already added a tablespoon of salt when they were cooking, these beans are perfectly salty, and so I'm not adding more salt. But if your beans are not salty enough, if you've taste them and you're like, they need a little more flavor, then you can add salt here too. Now we'll take an immersion blender and just start blending everything up. I like using an immersion blender because there's not a lot of liquid. I did not want to add more liquid to this, and so it's a really easy way to turn it into refried beans instead of having to add some liquid to a regular blender. I also like having a little bit of chunks of the beans so it's not completely blended up perfectly, and it's easier cleanup. All I have to do is clean this up and that's it. All right, taste it, see if you like the flavor, and these are great. Go from there. Full of flavor, super easy, delicious, and I'm always amazed at how much food you get from a bag of dried beans. So much better value than the canned stuff. Next, we're gonna microwave our corn tortillas so they're nice and flexible. 1 minute. Then I'll open up my can of salsa verde. And then let's assemble our taquitos now that the corn tortillas are out of the microwave. I'm gonna add a generous amount of those refried beans. And I like to make sure that it's on the edges so that it sticks together. Instead of just making this in the middle, we're gonna put everything nice and flat. And it kind of protects the tortilla from breaking apart. Now you could just turn this into a tostada and put it in the oven and make it until it's crisp, but I didn't have enough money to buy all the toppings for tostadas. So we're just gonna add some green salsa verde and then roll it up nice and tight and put it on our sheet just like that. And this will go in the air fryer, but you can also do it in the oven, whatever works best for you. All right, here's the labor of love, just spending the time to do this. Just a warning, if you don't cook your tortillas enough, this will happen over time. I ended up putting mine back in the microwave for another minute so that they were really soft and flexible, so this didn't happen. All right, we'll put them in the air fryer for 15 minutes at 400, and I'll check on them every 5 minutes. I still have plenty of beans and salsa left over and even some tortillas, so I could make more if I wanted. I found that when you reheat the tortillas, if you separate them, then they don't get all hooked together. So I'm actually gonna finish this off while I'm waiting for the next ones to be done. And I cooked these for 1.5 minutes and they are perfect. Okay, these finished at about 10 minutes. So they're just starting to get a little too crispy on the edges, but it looks like 10 minutes was the perfect amount of time. Okay, it is time to taste test. So simple, so yummy. That salsa verde, it just adds a little extra. You can dip these in regular salsa. You can add whatever condiments you already have on hand, but this is good enough as is. It's so yummy. This is awesome. I made a second batch because the cool thing about these tostadas is they freeze really well. Then you'll just pull them out of the freezer and put them back into the air fryer, and it's an easy dinner. You like it? Those are good, huh? Especially with some salsa. Trying the taquitos? Yeah?
Really good.
Have you signed up for your free 1-week meal guide? Make sure to click on the link below so that you can get access to a full week of vegan, whole food, plant-based meals that are super yummy. Just click on the link below. The next $5 recipe from the dollar store is black beans and rice, but with a twist. We'll add extra veggies to the black beans so it's incredibly delicious. For this recipe, I bought a bag of black beans, a bag of frozen corn. If your dollar store doesn't have frozen corn, you can always do canned corn, but frozen just tastes so much better. I bought a can of enchilada sauce that's gonna give the black beans all the flavor, and a can of diced tomatoes. I also bought some rice. I prefer brown rice, and sometimes my dollar store carries it, but sometimes they don't. Today they didn't, so I grabbed the white rice. We'll start by making the beans. Just like the pinto beans, I add them to my Instant Pot with some water, a tablespoon of salt so that there's enough flavor, and then some kombu because that's what I had on hand. But if you don't have kombu, you can soak your beans overnight to reduce the bloating and gas, and then cook them as directed in the Instant Pot. I cook these for about 35 minutes. I'm gonna cook the rice over the stove and add just the tiniest little bit of salt to the water. And I'm gonna cook my rice just like pasta. A lot of water, and then I will rinse out the excess. I honestly only need about half of this bag. Rice is done. All right, beans are done. Let's rinse them off. All right, we'll put them back in the bowl. So you will just dump the entire frozen corn. It's gonna be a lot of corn. The diced tomatoes with the juices, and your can of enchilada sauce. And that's it. We're gonna warm this up, and then we'll serve it over rice. Super cheap, super easy. And these big diced tomatoes are easy for my kids that don't like tomatoes to pick out. And we just eat this over rice. It's super good. I'm actually gonna warm everything up and saute for just a couple minutes, not for the full 25. Saute everything so that the corn gets warm. It's nice and hot. I'm gonna turn it off. I added some cilantro to place on top if you have any, but even if not, this is so delicious. This is one of the simplest, easiest, cheapest meals you can make. All right, here's the taste test. It's really good. Corn, so much flavor, enchilada sauce. It's seriously so simple and really good. You like it? Mm-hmm. What do you think, Ezzy? The last $5 dollar store meal we're gonna make today is just veggies and pasta with a delicious peanut sauce. When you're at the dollar store, you'll want to grab some dried edamame, some pasta, frozen stir-fry veggies, and some peanut butter. You'll start by boiling your pasta. I usually preferred whole grain, but you have limited options at the dollar store. And actually this gives you a ton of pasta, so I'm not sure if I'll boil all of it. That's a lot, even for my family of 8. All right, we'll boil that for a little bit. The noodles are almost done, and so I'm actually gonna add the stir-fry blend to the boiling water now to warm everything up. And that will boil for just another couple minutes. While the pasta and veggies are boiling, we'll start to make the peanut sauce. You'll add 1/4 cup of peanut butter. I just happen to buy crunchy peanut butter. And then I'm assuming that you have everything else on hand. So you'll also need 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. 1, 2, and 3. Then you'll do 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and 1 tablespoon of sugar. We want that to dissolve really well. And we'll mix this together. Now it doesn't quite mix together that well, so we're actually gonna use some of this pasta water, this hot pasta water. So we'll add 3 tablespoons, and there we go. Everything will mix together really well. We're also gonna add the juice of 1/2 of a lime. I really like it limey, so I'm gonna add the whole lime. If you like things spicy, if you are that type of person, you can also add some hot pepper flakes to this just to taste. I love spicy things, but my kids don't, so I'll just add the hot pepper flakes on top of my meal overall and not to the dressing. Let's mix that together really well, and then let's drain the pasta and veggies. Okay, let's add in all of that deliciousness, that peanut sauce. Mix all the veggies together. Yum. I love that this was crunchy peanut butter, so you see these little peanut crunches. It will add a lot. Now for a little bit more added protein, we're going to sprinkle on top that edamame. We won't use the whole bag, but a good amount, and that will give you a little bit of added protein in the meal. Now taste it. If you like your peanut sauce to have a little bit more sweetness to it, this is not very sweet, you're welcome to add in more sugar. All right, let's try it out. Of course, I topped it with cilantro just because I had it on hand, but it's not necessary. That's a solid peanut sauce. My thoughts on the edamame. The dried edamame, I mean, it's good and it's needed for the protein. It definitely has a different texture. I kind of like it, but if you have access to frozen edamame, that's probably a better choice for this dish. Yeah, because it kind of just gets rubbery, but the peanut sauce is awesome. Veggies are veggies. It's great. Plus my kids love everything pasta. If you liked these recipes, then I know you'll absolutely love my other dollar store video where I show you even more recipes that you can make that are vegan from the dollar store. Make sure to check it out too.